Welcome back, everyone. I get asked quite often about showing a little bit more detail of actually grinding and porting on cylinder. Well, today we've got a big one. We've got a Stihl MS880 cylinder, 60 millimeter bore. So this one's plenty of room. Get all of our utensils in there, do the work we need, and I'm hoping to get some close-up shots of actually porting this one and laying it out. Normally when I'm sitting here at the bench, I'm going to do 2 or 4 cylinders throughout the day. So I just kind of get my Bluetooth headphones on and my goggles. These are just regular old riding goggles, but I absolutely hate getting stuff drilled out of my eyeballs. If you have ever had anything drilled out of your eyeball, you know it's not fun. Let me know if you've ever been in that situation before. Kind of like this here, you got bright lights in your eyeball and it's not a very good feeling. So definitely recommend safety glasses at a minimum. Like I said, since we're not really doing many big flying projectiles, these goggles work. Alright, so these are noise canceling headphones. Like I said, normally I've got my tunes on, or I like to set my other phone up here, watch a YouTube video while I'm grinding away. I don't really watch it, more so listen. But, you know, we got to listen to all of our friends doing what they're doing while we're doing what we do. So we'll just go over some of the stuff we have. These are spill mats for like your bar. Just thick rubber mats with the pegs in there. And these work really nice because I like to hold the cylinder up here, kind of lean over and do my thing like so. These are the smaller Foredom hand pieces. Very comfortable. If you buy the cheap hanging motors like what we have here and here, it'll come with these bigger drill chuck style hand pieces. They work. Some of them are a little sloppy, some of them are a little tight. They will get a little warm, but they do work. So, our bar mats, I don't know, these are 12 inches by 16, 18 inches. And I can grind an awful lot of cylinders, dump all the chips right here, and they're not scattering everywhere. They're not doing anything. So once we're done, we can just take our whole mat over to our trash can, dump it out. Or like I said, if you have a bunch of stuff to grind on, it will hold a lot of chips versus having to chase them all over the table while you're trying to get things done. I found that very helpful. Reduces a lot of the vibration. This is a steel table and it cuts down on the noise a lot. So we got our bar mat. This is just a 2x6 with the right size hole to hold all of our different size hand pieces. If you're just getting started, you're probably going to get just a couple regular old straight hand pieces with the drill chuck. Nothing wrong with those. We still use them daily. And the next thing I would recommend would be, this is the Lucky Dog. This is the Lucky Dog Manufacturing. Got a whole video on this one. But the right angle hand piece with the little dental heads. Sean Carr makes these, and he has these couple of these burrs special made. This is the medium burr. This is my favorite. But they're a nice push button style or nice push button release. And like I said, I use this quite a bit. I do have this one and a spare. This is the CC Specialty Tools. I see the price went up on these. These are getting close to that $600 mark. But also, great tool. Fits in there just great. And these come with different collets. So you can run the 3mm or 1/8 inch burr. And I think they even make one smaller for this size shank. But this is CC Specialty right angle. Or these are the generic 90-degree hand pieces. You can get them online, imported right from China. And you can see the head is a good bit bigger. But if you're doing, I mean, they will fit the smaller bores, but I wouldn't recommend these for much smaller than 50mm if you want to get good direction on there. But they will work in a pinch to raise the uppers, or if you've got a really steady hand, you can use a square. You can use a square cut burr. Put your straight hand piece and go right in and raise your upper transfers. But that's only if you have a really steady hand. Like I said, I just want to show some of the stuff that we use on a daily basis to actually grind our cylinders. Let me go over some of the layout tools that I use. Just a regular set of dial calipers. So on the exhaust port, I like to widen to 65% when I can. This skirt is 1.588 inches. 65% is 1.535. So that would leave me about 25 thousandths per side if I did it exactly right to still get 65%. But I'm not going to go that far. I like to keep at least 40 thousandths or 1 millimeter on each side of the piston. So this one will go about 63%, or we'll go about 1.43. So 1.43, boop, right? That's 5.343. All right, so our exhaust port right here, 1.43. You can see that's just a fuzz wider than the outlet. But we'll take a pair of dividers like this, set it 1.43. Boop, just like that. So that is my exhaust width. So two things. I've got a height line in here where I want to raise the port to, and I can line this up. Alright, that's not taking much. And I can just scribe my little height line. Then we can go in with our steel scale, our steel ruler, nice straight edge, and mark our widths. We got that scribe line right there. We'll put these straight lines in so we can see where we're grinding to. The exhaust width is set, exhaust height is marked, transfer height is marked. So this cylinder is laid out. And on this 880, we are going 96 on the exhaust, 118 on the transfers, and I am going to drop this intake down a little bit. It's at about 68, 69 right now, and I'm going to take that to probably about 75. This 880 is getting a CPI pipe, and those CPI pipes are made for factory type porting, so we're not going to stray too awful far from factory type porting, but this will give it a lot more flow, a lot more snap, and should bump the power up quite nicely. So I've got it all laid out. I'll show you that in a second. These are the lights I like to use. A little stream light, fits in the plug hole nice, and this one's even small enough to fit the decomp. So we get plenty of light in there to see what we're doing, and they don't really hold me up. I can set it in there, get all my different angles, do all the different dangles. Alright, so we got that all set up. I'll go over a couple of the other tools. So we talked dial caliper. These doohickeys. This is a digital caliper, but I have these extensions on it. They just clamp onto the jaws. This is just a cheap plastic set, but I wanted this because I can zero it wherever. These extensions are super handy if you're going to grind in finger ports, because you can reach around and see how thick the wall is. So right here we're in millimeters. So the wall thickness right there is 4.5 millimeters. Now castings being kind of porous, I like to keep them 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters thick. A good friend of mine told me about these, and they have been a lifesaver grinding finger ports, because to get a nice deep finger port, you always wonder, how much do I have till daylight? How much do I have till daylight? And you can fit these through most of the fins. Most of the fingers are not going to be over this high. So you can see we are 5.5 millimeters thick up there where the fingers would stop. The thinnest part here, 4.8, almost 5 millimeters thick. Let's see what we got. 4.8 there. But just kind of a handy tool. Let me see if this has a number. called a caliper accessory kit. There's 10 other pieces in here, different points and tips to get inside, outside. But this is just a real rough measuring tool. It's not crazy precise, but it should keep you from getting daylight through your cylinders. It can work good on the transfer tunnels here. That way you know how much you can go before daylight. And you can zero it anywhere, turn it on and off. But these dividers, pair of calipers, and if you're going to do finger ports or some of the more extensive grinding, this accessory kit for your calipers, or just get, this is a $10 pair of calipers. Just get a pair of these and you'll be all set. So I think we can get started. I'll put these back. The burrs, people ask all the time. I do have some more expensive name brand carbide aluminum. This is an Alumahog burr. It's a real coarse one. And these are $15 to $18 a piece. So one thing I found myself doing is buying these 10 packs. I just get them on eBay. They are 100 millimeter long. 100 millimeter long, 3 millimeter shank, and about a 5 millimeter head, carbide tip, and about a 5 millimeter diameter head. They're carbide brazed on the shaft. The shafts are not carbide. But there's a couple of shapes that I really like on these, and for the $10 I get all the extras. The odd shapes work really well for doing muffler mods and on the metal. But we got those. That's what I use for the 90% of my straight shank, exhaust ports, intake ports, lower transfers. I just trim these down to fit, like the Husqvarna 5 Series. They need a longer burr than a normal. This is your typical length burr when you order the kits on eBay or Amazon, just a standard 3 millimeter burr or 1/8 inch burr. They're only about this long, and you can see that's not quite enough to reach some of the deeper exhaust ports. So I've just been cutting down that cheap set, and it works great for what we're doing here. The motors, foot pedal controlled, 1/3 horse. I've got actually 2 stations here. This one I do all the grinding on the cylinders, and that one we do all the grinding on the mufflers and stuff. So that's why we keep all the shorter burrs there, and most of the drill style hand pieces to bevel and open up the muffler holes, deburr them, get everything all cleaned up over there, keep the metal pokey stuff on one side, keep the aluminum stuff on the other side. Seems to work real well. And you can see these motors can move and slide, and I think that really helps keeping these cables live a good long life. Because if that motor can wiggle and torque like that, like it's supposed to when it's hanging, it won't jam up and snap cables as easy. And these are just cheap $100 motor setups. What's that? That's a PFM2. Says 18,000 RPM on both of them. I've had them for a few years now. They're going strong. I've heard people have good luck with Harbor Freight motors or just generic ones. Or you can step up and get the reversible for them. I've never had reverse, so I don't know how well it'd work. So let me grab that camera and we will see if we can get a good shot over my shoulder down into these bores while I'm grinding on it. Port. We'll dip our cutter in a little bit of oil. This I either use some automatic transmission fluid, or this is just some regular old 30 weight. And I like to start right in the center of the port. Real close, we'll get that to height first. So I have a notch that's almost to the height where we're gonna go. So we still want to keep a nice little arch in the exhaust roof so we don't snag a ring. So I'll start from our notch and I'll pull towards me. I'll get this half widen and to the height we need. And then I will widen the opposite side and then shape the roof in. So that's what I'm going to do, and you guys will see how it goes. So you can see we're starting to get a little bit closer to our line on this side of the port, but we're still keeping a nice little arch. And that's what we want to try and do. Then we want a nice radius in our top corner here. That's pretty close to where we're going to go. This is still a nice safe arch. Now if you're trying to go for maximum power or race saw type, you can really flatten these ports out, but you will snag a ring eventually if you go too flat. So now, like I said, I'll start on the other side and I'll get my width. See, we're starting to get our port shape roughed in right here at the cylinder wall. We started there and we got a nice arch in the roof. Like I said, we're still only 85% or so there. We'll fine tune this until we get the exact shape we're looking for right up to our line. Finish our exhaust port with our 80 grit on the split mandrel. Once we get it all roughed out with the burr, and I'll do any final shaping and the final height with our 80 grit on the mandrel, on the exhaust port. So I've got pretty close where I want to go. I'll keep shaping a little bit, and then we need to start blending from the cylinder wall here out to the flange. So you can see our burrs getting loaded up a little bit, getting some aluminum stuck in there. So that's when I'll dip it in the oil. I'll dip it in the oil, give it a little spin, try and clean off the excess, and normally when I go put it back in, clean off the stuff that's stuck on. So we'll look at this exhaust port now. We've got pretty uniform shape, almost up to the height, and we'll be able to finish with our 80 grit. Alright, so you can see we got a nice little pile of chips in there, and we can dump it out. And our mat holds it, and now we're not wallowing in it because it's down there in the mat. We'll blow it out. That exhaust port's pretty well roughed in. Got it matched up on this side pretty good. And now, I don't know if you'll be able to see much of this, but I'm gonna there's a bump on this side of the lower. I'm gonna blend this in a little bit, this bump right here. And we're just going to radius the bottom edge. So let me grind those down real quick. Right here, it's just got a little bulge for clearance on the bolt. I'm just going to grind away a little bit of that. You can kind of see up there a little bit. Just a little bit better shape and direction on there. That bulge was kind of restricting a little bit. But we'll just blend that in. And that's basically all I'm going to do to the lowers. We got our Lucky Dog handpiece. And I don't know if you'll be able to get in there or not, but I just take a full grip, start at this edge, and go across, just like that. Start here, go to your height, and work it across. Alright, I'll show you. Nice grip. So hopefully you can see, but like I said, I start my cut here and I just slowly pull it while it's pulling the chips out. Now you don't want to jab at it and get a bunch of chatter, because these heads will strip out very easy. But if you go nice and smooth and gentle with it, like I said, I'm taking a pretty healthy cut and they hold up, you know. So we'll finish up here. So I like to look through the exhaust port there and make sure that I've got the transfer ground all the way flat to the line. And you can see I've only got these roughed in close to the port wall here. Just simply hitting the height right here, that's not gonna cut it. You still need to blend and flow everything back all the way into the transfer tunnels. You can see how the burr will get in here. We need to blend all of this in, a nice swooping radius, all the way to the flat of our transfer roofs here. So I've got that transfer pretty close to roughed in, and I need to continue blending everything. But that's how we use the transfers. And same thing on the intake. We go down towards the base with the intake port. So what I do with the intake is I put a little notch in there, set the saw back up, check the degree wheel, make sure that I don't go too far. Just go a little bit at a time. Keep checking the intake. And to finish it off, we go in with our diamond ball. This is like a 4mm diamond ball, and we will just go through right along the edge here and chamfer and bevel all of these port edges that we cut. This is our last step after we polish the exhaust, open up the intake. Just go through. I'll show you real quick on this lower. So you just go around all the edges just like that, and you get rid of any sharp edges. Down here, the piston ring's not going to travel, but up here on the exhaust port, top of the intake port, or top of the transfers, you know, the ring will pass over that. So you need to make sure. I like these. These are 4mm diamond balls. I like using these to finish all of my ports once we're done grinding. But this is just a little bit more in-depth look. I've shown plenty of finished cylinders, and this is the rough stage. So we'll get this one all finished up and bolted on and make some power. It's super difficult to finish this whole thing with you guys looking over my shoulders the whole time. So I just will stop right there with that rough look. But that is probably as close as you're going to get to watching somebody port a cylinder firsthand. Hopefully those camera angles work for you. I'm going to finish this one up, get this all put together, and see what kind of power this piped 880 makes. And I will make a finished video with this cylinder all done and that saw on the dyno. But I did have a lot of people asking, you know, up close, you never show the porting, you never show the porting. Well, this is a whole lot of video about just simply porting. So hopefully this video answers some of your questions. But leave a comment, let me know what other questions you have, because if I can't answer them here, I can answer them in another one. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, and until next time, thanks a lot everyone.